Mm-hmm.
Tell me when. Good morning, everyone, and welcome this morning to the October 2023 regular meeting of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. And we'll begin our meeting today with a Pledge of Allegiance. United States of America. Republic. Nation. Thank you. First item on our agenda today is presentation by the public on matters not on the agenda within our jurisdiction. Is there anyone in the audience today that wishes to speak at this time? Or do we have any correspondence at all?
No correspondence.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 1B, monthly year-to-date revenue and expenses.
Thank you, Chair Ramos. I'll be doing the monthly financials for the month of August. Starting with Fund 870, we had an initial balance of $8.5 million. There was no revenue. Expenses totaled about just a little over $9,000, so we ended, the ending cash position in Fund 870 was just shy of 8.5. In Fund 871, we had a starting balance of $9.4 million, again, no revenue, and expenses totaled about $229,000. Ending cash position in Fund 871 was approximately $9.2 million. Total cash position, including the state holding fund, 257, is, or was, excuse me, for the month of August, 33.2 million. And that concludes the report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda today, which consists of two items, consideration of a contract amendment for survey work at the Southport Levee Project and approval of our September 2023 special meeting minutes. Consider a motion to approve the consent agenda unless there's any question.
I'm happy to approve the agenda. I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to move on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We're on to item 4A, our WSAFCA project updates.
Thank you, Chair Ramos. I'll just go over a few of the items that are in your packet. On the financial side, since the month of August, the agency settled the claim with Shimmick for about for $12.5 million, and that payment was processed using the state advance funds. And so as of October 12th, the agency's cash position is about $20.4 million. Nothing really to update on Southport Levee Improvement Project. Maintenance is continuing. I think we're still doing one irrigation event per week. For the federal project, we have received a new cash request for the from the Corps since they received the balance of their FY23 appropriation, and that cash request was for $3.05 million. We've received approval from the state to use the balance of the advance funds, which is about $3.012 million. And so WSAFCA will use approximately $43,000 from our federal project work order to make up the balance, and we're in the middle of processing that payment now. And that'll conclude the cash request until the Corps receives their FY24 appropriation. Date of that is to be determined. For the LERDS portion of the federal project, staff issued an RFP for right-of-way services to support that effort. Again, just a reminder to the board, the LERDS acquisition of lands and the right-of-way to construct is the sole responsibility of the non-federal sponsor, us in the state. So that's going to be our primary focus as we continue with the federal project implementation. So this is an important contract that we'll be bringing to that we anticipate bringing to the board in November. And then I'll just continue on. The Yolo Bypass East Levee project is essentially complete. There should be a final walkthrough scheduled here shortly. Want to make sure RD 900 attends that walkthrough, as they'll be responsible for maintenance following project completion. The Yolo Bypass East Levee North project, again, the contract was awarded to Odin. Notice to proceed was issued in September. However, the work will not begin until spring of next year. On the Sacramento River North Levee, the design effort, the Corps initiated the design for Contract 1S. And again, if you check that graphic that's included in your packet, that's for segments 1 and 2 along the northernmost segments of Sac River North. There is a little bit of a snag in the geotech side of the house. And again, the geotech is where they do the seepage and stability analyses, primarily to determine where deficiencies are and what the remediation measures are going to be to counteract those, whatever seepage deficiencies they determine. And right now, they feel that more borings are needed, which likely will not, well, not likely, which will not be conducted until past flood season, so next spring. So we're working with them now to define what the 35% design deliverable is going to look like, using the data that we do have. And then they can hopefully augment that data and analyses between 35 and 65. They need to do more work. So right now, the deliverable for the 35% design to the non-federal sponsor is February of next year. That may slip by a couple of months as we try and figure out the best path forward. But at this point, we do believe that the design will continue, and additional data will have to be gathered to fill in the blank, if you will, along the reef. Any questions on that before I move on?
I guess I'll just ask, why was it determined that they needed more borings?
A new guidance was issued by the Corps between the time that we completed our pre-project borings and the time that they just started the design. The new guidance does not require additional borings, but it does suggest that more is better than less. And so out of abundance of caution, the Corps wants to adhere to the guidelines and do some additional boring. All in all, the more information, the better, to make sure that we have a design that's going to meet the needs and protect West Sacramento. But what we don't want to have happen is pressing the pause button on everything and then and to wait. And that could cause up to a year delay in getting the design going. Trying to keep things going in parallel. On the Stone Lock Reach, the design charrette was held end of last month. Recommendation for alternative 2, which we'll share with the Corps, we'll share with the board in a subsequent meeting. The draft recommendation was distributed to the project delivery team, including the non-federal sponsor, for review, and those comments are due next Friday, and we're working with the state to consolidate our comments and provide them back to the Corps. And we just sneak peek, we're recommending a different solution than what the GRR called for. The GRR called for an earthen berm, a levee, across the channel, essentially where the Mike McGowan Bridge now sits. So something was going to have to be done regardless, either move it towards the river, or if we kept with the same solution, or move it towards the lock. But since that time, we've looked at other solutions, including, fixing up the gates and the stop logs, or perhaps doing a flood wall in the lock structure itself to provide that flood protection. because an earthen berm right now would have a lot of environmental impact, because there's a whole lot of habitat out there right now. So the alternative too is the concrete flood wall, and that's what at this point we're going to be recommending. And the other silver lining is it's significantly less. The cost estimate for construction is significantly less than what was estimated in the Corps' project. No changes with appropriations, just waiting for Congress to get their act together and get back to doing the people's business. Public relations, the groundbreaking ceremony for our project, as you know, is canceled. We do not have a new tentative date yet. And then on emergency preparedness or flood season preparation, a tabletop exercise was just scheduled for November 14th. So that's going to be our, for the city, our main pre-flood season preparedness exercise. And that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions you have on any of the other items. Really anything else?
I do have a quick question. You just mentioned the locks. I happened to drive by yesterday and somebody was walking on the locks. Is that normal that folks are out there when they're examining the property, or do you think that could have been somebody that shouldn't have been there, and should that have been a call I made?
Well, it is supposed to be a secure area, so members of the public should not be in there, but as you know, fences get cut and people make short, and that continues to be an issue over there. So I don't know if anybody was out there for any official reason. So making a phone call is not a bad idea.
Okay. It looked like could have possibly been an Instagram moment. Somebody was speaking out there, which is concerning.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Other questions? Okay. Hearing none, I want to thank everyone for attending today, and this meeting is adjourned.